All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary, with my beautiful wife. Say hi.
Hello, hello. I'm AKDI.
Yes, and today is episode 6 of Simon and AKDI on X CIMAC movie reviews. Today we're talking about the one, the only, the legendary movie, The Color Purple, 1985, not the 2024 one, from one and only Steven Spielberg, starring Whoopi Goldberg as Celie, Oprah Winfrey as Sophia, some other lady as Nettie, some
Wow.
some guy as Harpo, and of course Danny Glover as the scariest villain in movie history, Mister.
Wow. Now, looking at the cast from Google and how they look now,
Mm-hmm.
Shug still got it.
Wow. Okay. What's her
She still
name?
has
What's her
it.
name? I feel like I've seen her before.
Margaret Avery.
Margaret Avery. That name sounds so familiar. I feel like I've seen her in so many other things. Maybe she was in Living Single. I feel like she was a member of Living Single.
I don't know.
Either way, either way. So this is a very, very big movie, and usually we do these reviews for only 1 hour, but this one might run over a bit because there's a lot to talk about in this one. So let's just start off with how we initially felt about the movie after we watched it, and we just watched it like 15 minutes ago. So how do you feel, Acty?
Well, I just finished ugly crying over the last scene, and I probably cried like 3, 4 times, like tiny cries throughout the movie. I just feel like, I don't know, like right now my heart is full. I feel happy. I feel sad. I'm going through all the emotions we went through in the movie. I really like, like a really good tearjerker movie, and this is definitely like one of those. And it's also like something, real. Like those are like real feelings. It's not science fiction. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like fulfilled. That's how I feel.
It's not science fiction. Shots fired.
Artistically, no, no, no. Okay, let me just say it once and for all. Like Jurassic Park is a good movie. It's a great movie, and I'm not shooting shots at you or Jurassic Park.
It's okay. I'm just joking.
Okay,
By the way, let me say sorry ahead of time because I misspelled your name. I put the extra K in the title.
it's okay. I'll be AKDI.
So yeah, after watching this movie, I felt a lot of emotions too. I have a lot to say about this movie for real. I did enjoy it though. I'm not going to say that I did not enjoy this movie. In fact, I think this movie was one of the most thought-provoking movies I've watched in a long, long time, and that says a lot because me and Acty consume a lot of movies that have very big themes and that have a lot of great acting and storytelling. But this one really got my mind working in a lot of different ways. And definitely, I have to say, Steven Spielberg is probably the GOAT, like the greatest director of all time. There's like Ridley Scott, there's Christopher Nolan, then Steven Spielberg reigns supreme. I have to say this, man.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. Like he did some pretty good movies. Like the thing is, like he's just really good at capturing that like family longing or like that community, I guess, like feeling in movies. He just nails that, and that's
Right.
what like that's just like his signature.
Yeah, he just has that eye. He knows how to create that tension, how to create those feelings of rejoice, how to create those feelings of longing. Just you feel something when you watch, some of his movies, definitely. But let's get into the story. So, by the way, this will be a spoiler. But if you haven't seen this movie by now, then I don't know what to say. By the way, this was my first time watching this movie. Of course, this is a very famous movie. Many of the scenes and quotes from this movie are very, very popular, especially in the Black community. I didn't see it before, watching it tonight. What about you, Acting?
Yeah, me neither. I just when I was in Serbia, like I guess 3 years ago, 2, 3 years ago, I was like not working and I was at home and I was like, okay, let me try to like read a book. And then I downloaded like this book from like a archive or something, and I started reading it. And the book is like Celie's diary basically. And I read it like until the point where Shug leaves, and then after that I started working and I just didn't have time to finish it, and I don't know, somehow like I just left it like that, even though I really like the book as well.
Right.
And I still like want to read it and finish it.
Yeah, by the way, this movie is based on a novel from a very famous Black American writer, female writer named Alice Walker. I believe she only wrote 1 or 2 books, if I remember right, because I remember watching a biography about her on YouTube. But very famous book, very powerful book, and a very powerful and impactful movie. So let's get into the summary of the story. So the movie opens up with 2 little black girls playing in a field. They're doing hand clappings and singing a song called Maki Dada, I'll Never Leave You, swearing that they'll always be loyal to each other. They'll always be there for each other. They seem to have a very strong friendship. They're playing in the field, and at first you only see the top of their necks and their heads. But then the girls run out of the field when their father or some man calls them, and you see that one of the girls is pregnant, right? Very pregnant. And the movie takes place somewhere in, I believe Tennessee or Arkansas, and it's the early 19th century America. And then this next scene after that, when the girls are, done playing in the field, the girl is giving birth. The pregnant one is giving birth in winter. She's screaming. Her sister is helping her. And after she gives birth, she's very happy. But then the man takes the baby away. What did you think about that first, those first opening scenes right there?
Yeah, I was obviously like it's just like sad, and it just dives into the brutal like life of this like young girl during that time. And yeah, I don't know, it was just like I just thought to myself like it's such a brutal time, and it's such a brutal like thing that's happening. I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. The movie starts off, really, really bringing you into that world, and you learn that the characters' names are Celie and Nettie, and they are sisters. And when the man sees Celie in the movie, he says, "You have the ugliest smile," which goes to show that maybe this girl is being told all the time that she's ugly, she's less than, she's getting beaten
Hmm.
down with words, maybe even physically. But then we find out that the man who called them is actually the man who got her pregnant, and it's her father, and that was hella gross.
Yeah.
Oh God, when they said that, that was the worst. And he took the baby because he didn't want their mother to find out, because the man was sleeping with his daughter behind his mother's back, and he was hiding the children and giving them away to different people in the community.
Yeah,
Uh,
probably taking money for it or something.
yeah, probably selling them. This is an unfortunate circumstance that still happens today, unfortunately, in different parts of the world. Yeah, I know it happens in America even now today, in like some of the
Yeah.
darkest parts of our country. What about in Turkey? Do you think this still happens or ever happened?
Of course, of course. This is like a, this sort of like a family sexual abuse is still like a big thing. And obviously, like now people are trying to shine a light on it. But like, I thought of like my own grandma. Obviously, like she didn't get pregnant by her father, but she got married at a very young age. And I always remember like when I was listening her telling me about like her younger years, she would say like when I had my first child, I was so young that I would like put him with my toys and play with him just like a baby doll or something like that.
Wow.
And actually, like her first child wasn't raised by her. It was raised by like her stepmom and her dad and her dad. So they
Mhm.
couldn't have a kid, and she like her stepmom couldn't have a kid, so she sort of took it for herself. And also because like my grandmother was so young, of course she didn't know like really how to take care of a child.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very sad story. I'm
Yeah.
sure something like that happened in my family way back. I'm not really sure. Well, I'm pretty sure my grandmothers, went through some stuff,
Hmm.
and I'll just leave it at that. I don't know though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on in the story, basically Celie and Nettie grow up in this very small community in very rural, Black America, and basically, the father continues to, abuse Celie, but he wants to start abusing her little sister Nettie, right?
Hmm.
Another man in town wants to marry Nettie though because he finds her beautiful, and I guess a lot of people found Nettie beautiful. So the man comes to Celie and Nettie's father and asks to marry Nettie, but the father or wants Nettie to himself. So he says, "You can have Celie. She's ugly, but she can cook, she can clean. You'll never want for anything." And so the man says, "Okay," and he takes Celie and leaves Nettie. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a very crazy situation. Anything you want to say about how that happened?
I mean, yeah, like those things sort of like those things happened in Turkey a lot as well. Like there
Mm,
were movies made about it and series made about it, books written about it, like just fathers basically like selling their daughter to older men and like for them to be just like used as sort of like cleaners, maids, child bearers.
mhm.
But most of the time those like girl children were abused and stuff like that. So yeah, that just what like came into my mind when I watched that scene.
Yeah, definitely. I know this still probably happens in other parts of the world where there are those arranged marriages or child brides,
Yeah.
are wed and stuff like that. If people are listening to this right now in the playback and you're like frustrated, like, oh God, are they going to go scene by scene? Trust me, I'm building all of this up because I really want to talk about some big themes, but we're going to,
Hmm.
breeze past some other points, but we're summarizing the movie. So, all right. So, Mr. Albert, I'm calling him Mr. because
Okay, I'm
I'm
calling him
scared.
Albert.
Mr. or Albert is the grown man who takes Celie as his bride, right?
Mhm.
And basically he like beats on Celie, makes her clean up his dirty house. Boy, that kitchen! The scene when she walks into the kitchen and there's like rats and like food on the floor, and it's so gross. Oh man, I've never
Yeah,
seen anything like that.
and like he also has children too, and the first time she comes into the house, children say like, "This is not my mom," and they throw a rock at her head, and
Yeah,
her head starts bleeding. So like, it's not only Albert, but the children like kind of hate Celie as well, and they kind of like make her suffer.
yeah. Going back to that, like when they introduced Albert, they said that he had 3 children and his wife was killed by her boyfriend. And I'm like, Albert is a cuck. Albert was letting his wife get piped down by some other dude in town. Like, is that really why he's so mean? Because he couldn't deal with that.
I don't, yeah, like I don't know. I don't think he loved his first wife either. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
maybe he didn't even mind like that she had boyfriends or something.
Maybe, maybe that was a weird way of putting it. My wife was killed by her boyfriend, nigga. Anyway, so yeah, da, 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 da. Mister has like 3 kids, but we only really get to know one of them, and that's a boy named Harpo, right? And Harpo is like I guess his oldest son. He bosses Harpo around and makes Harpo like bring his mule or get his horse and saddle up the horse
Mhm.
and work on the farm and stuff like that. Nettie then moves into the house with Mister and Celie because her father keeps on trying to abuse her, right? Trying to get on top of her,
Yeah,
and she's living with Celie, and she's starting to teach Celie how to read by putting putting little post-it notes all over the kitchen. So what's this, honey? What's this? A spatula? What's this? An oven? Stuff like that. That was very
yeah,
cute, and that goes to show like Spielberg is great at creating like those moments of joy, even in like misery and stuff like that. What do you think
yeah.
of that scene?
Yeah, definitely. Like every time like they were alone and together, like, that scene and also the scene where like Nettie was reenacting like Albert and she was doing stuff like, oh, like, imitating him and stuff.
Hmm.
Like all the times that they were together, it was like so full of joy and love, and yeah, it was like just very heartwarming.
Right, right, absolutely. I really like that scene too, and I really, I just thought that was a cool scene, and that made me think
Hmm.
about like how our ancestors like taught themselves how to read, because in America for a long time, like black people were forbidden to read.
Hmm.
So I was thinking of all the creative ways they probably taught themselves how to read, which was a very
Yeah.
cool scene. So Mister is abusing Celie, right? And
Hmm.
every time that Celie lays down with Mister and he forces himself on her, she looks and sees this picture of this like beautiful woman by his nightstand, and she's like wondering who is that. And at first I thought that was his first wife, but that turns out to be somebody later in the story.
Yeah.
Mister keeps on trying to get at Nettie, and one day when Nettie is like walking to school, Mister pulls up on the horse and tries to take it, but then she like kicks him in the nuts and runs away.
Yeah. You love that scene where he's on the horse and he's just like doing stupid stuff.
I just thought that scene was hilarious, and that's
Yeah.
the reason I started laughing when like Mister was on the horse, taking his hat off, smiling, slumping, all that sort of stuff. I had to laugh because I was terrified of this man. Like he is scary, bro. Because
Yeah.
Mister reminds me of like the worst parts of my dad, the worst parts of what I heard from my grandfather, and
Mm.
yeah, it's just he's a really dark character. And I'm saying this now, but we're gonna build on this later in the stream. But what
Yeah.
did you think of that scene?
Yeah. It was just like, I guess, like I said, I really think like, Albert is just a sad man. And like, even there, he's like just trying to make Nettie love him. And then I guess he sort of realizes that, like, she doesn't want him,
Mm,
obviously.
mm,
And then he just goes on to like attacking her,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of shows like, he is actually looking just for somebody to love him.
Mm.
But when he's not accepted, then he just goes on to abuse those people.
Right. I want to be sympathetic with you, and there is a way of looking at Mister's character and saying that this is a person who's broken, a person who wants love, a person who's unrealized. But then there's another part of me that says, boy, he a demon. He on demon time
Yeah,
because
obviously, like it doesn't excuse anything that he did in the movie.
yeah, like there has to be a point where some sort of morality kicks in, and
Yeah.
nothing that you can say, oh, I want love is justification.
Yeah, of
But
course. I mean, everyone in that movie is living in a hard time,
right, right,
especially like the woman.
yeah.
So it's no excuse just to say like, oh, he had a hard life.
Right. So Mister tries to hop on Nettie. Nettie kicks him in the nuts. And then the next scene is Mister kicking Nettie out of the house and Nettie and Celie clinging to each other, trying not to be separated. Mister forces them apart, throws Nettie to the road and says, don't you come back. And Nettie is screaming for Celie. And then she starts doing the hand clap thing. And then
Hmm.
she says twice, and I thought this was the worst scene of the movie. She says, nothing but death will keep us apart. Nothing but death will keep us apart. It was a bit overreact. It was a bit
Yeah.
overacting. It was a bit weird how it was shot. I just thought that scene was kind of funny and also I don't know, poorly executed. What did you think of that?
Yeah, a bit like I think that was like the only scene where I guess like from Nettie's end, acting was a bit off,
Hmm.
and it kind of felt like a bit forced, like you said. But I
Hmm.
still cried.
Okay.
That was the first time a little tear came down my eye.
Right, right. No, it was a very sentimental scene, and it was very emotional. But I feel
Yeah.
like they could have just done that a little bit better. But moving on, so Celie ends up staying with Mister, and for some reason, even though Mister only has 3 kids apparently, and he never has kids with Celie, there's always little kids running around the house, and Celie is chasing after them or taking care of them. I'm like, where did all these kids come from? Like,
Wow, I think they were just like the neighborhood kids, like the kids who were around, because they're like they had neighbors, like houses and farms that are next to them.
right, right. I don't know, man, because there were a lot of kids for this small community, and they're always laughing. Like, don't y'all see like the women getting smacked up and the and the racism and all sorts of evil things and the poverty? Don't you see all of this happening? The little kids are just like, eh.
Well, yeah, it's normalized, Simon, in that time. Like it's not like it only happens to one person; it happens to everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt a little bit like Spielberg just put the kids in the scene just to like fill up space. Like
Maybe
maybe
it was to show like what type of environment kids were being raised at.
right. All right. And another thing before we continue in the story, another thing I noticed is that Mister and all the black men in this movie are ballers. All of them are ballers for their time. If we think about
Yeah,
like that time, like for a black man to own that much land, have tractors, horses, nice suits, $100 bills, like these niggas were big ballers. Like
yeah,
I'm wondering why the hoes didn't choose up on Mister, and why Pa had to hop on his daughters, because all the black men there were like stunting. You get what I'm saying?
yeah. There was definitely like no poverty, right? Like the kitchen was full, like they had meat and all of that, like everything. They're living better than us. I mean, in terms of like material things.
That was like the biggest question in my head the entire movie. Like number one, how did these dudes get so rich for their time?
I
Because
mean,
Mister was popping up in different color suits, 3-piece suits. You get what I'm
mhm.
saying? Go
I
ahead.
don't know. Like from what I understood, like they owned land and they were farming that land, and that's how they made their money, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I don't know. Maybe there was like some sort of part of Tennessee or whatever, wherever that movie was in, that I don't know, had that sort of land where black people were owning it and cropping it and stuff like that.
I guess so, man. I guess so. But if that was the case, man, Mister should have had hoes in and out the crib. Imagine
I
like
mean, he
you're
sort of did.
he kind of they were not the willing participants that they should have been. And
Okay.
anyway, that was just something that I wish was explained in the story. But moving on, okay, so Celie is growing up. Nettie says that she's going to write to Celie, but Mister won't let her check the mailbox. And Mister is controlling everything in Celie's life, regularly beating on her, making her work long hours, find his coat, his shoes, and everything.
Mhm.
And Mister is waiting on a letter from some woman named Shug. We didn't know who Shug was, but Shug
No.
turns out to be the woman who was on the picture near his bedside, and also a famous singer from the town, right? And Shug finally comes to Mister one day in the rain, and she looks at Celie when she comes and says, "You ugly." And Mister is all over. Mister is all over Shug. He thinks she's beautiful. He'll do anything for her. He goes in the kitchen and tries to cook for her. What did you think of when Shug entered the scene? Oh, you know what? I skipped Sophia. Did I skip Sophia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll go back to Sophia. Let's
Okay. Okay.
I
So.
guess like I mean, yeah, like Albert was smitten, like he was shaking, and he was like, like not physically but emotionally like afraid of this woman, and he just wanted to be her slave.
Right.
Her.
Absolutely.
And yeah, like I thought like the scene where he was trying to cook and stuff, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I don't know, I guess like when you see Shug, and also as we're going to talk about Sophia, you're thinking like, okay, so not all women are like, like Celie.
hmm
They're not all like just obeying and just naive and just shutting up and getting a beating, I
Right,
guess.
right. I think the scene when Mister is cooking, it was so funny when he was trying to chop something and he cut himself with a knife and he turned around with a force with the knife. That to me was just hilarious because I realized right then and there, this man is on 10. He's on 10 and we're on level 5. Like we are not operating at the frequency Mister is on.
Yeah, definitely. Like the anxiety he had around like Shug,
Uh-huh.
like a sweet love anxiety, it was like, stressing me out.
Yeah, yeah. And Suge is talking to him all kinds of ways, talking about like, I don't want to eat your nasty food. Are you trying to kill me? And I don't want your water. I need a real man and stuff like that. She's like emasculating Mister, who up to this point in this movie has been like a towering force, a terrifying presence in almost
Yeah.
every scene. But now he's like fumbling around the house trying to do whatever he can for this woman. And I feel like Suge was also there to like represent maybe the liberated sexual woman, the woman
Hmm.
who's not, whose beauty can surpass the trappings of men. And I think this is, a theme that we see in like a lot of different stories and films because women's beauty is something that, and you might hate me for this, it's something that's valued and treasured, especially for men, right? And so
Yeah.
with that power of beauty, you can sort of make a man act out of character, and I thought that's what she was there to represent, and also just being free and not held down.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I agree with you because there are just like those women who actually take advantage of their beauty, and they know it, and they take advantage of it, and they should, because nothing happens when you don't take advantage of it, honestly, because especially like during those times, and also like a lot of years after that as well, like men took advantage of everything, so why not take advantage of your beauty as well, like
Right,
yourself, and why
right.
not just like have it empower you, I
Right,
guess.
right. But at the same time that she's like a beautiful woman, the curse of being a beautiful woman is being labeled a whore, right? And
Yeah.
so Suge also had that reputation as well, which we'll talk about later. But let's first go back to Sophia. She shows up before Suge comes, and basically Harpo grows up along with Celie, and Harpo one day brings home this big woman who is played by Oprah Winfrey, and he's in love with her, and he says Sophia is her name, and he introduces her to to his father, and he says, "Ain't she a beautiful girl? She got a beautiful name. I want to marry her." And Mister is not with it at first. Mister does not want Harpo to marry Sophia, and he ends up doing it anyway. What did you think of like Sophia when she came in and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, Sophia, like, it's like another side of the coin when you compare it with Shug, because Shug is beautiful and she uses that power of beauty. But then Sophia, you have Sophia, she's not like traditionally beautiful like Shug, right? But she's also like an empowered woman, and she's like also a woman who doesn't take, degrading stuff from men. And yeah, I loved Sophia. Like, I was like, oh, like this is like a breath of fresh air, when you compare it with all the stuff that Celie has to take.
Absolutely.
And also like you also think like, okay, like, so if this happens, maybe Celie will surround herself with these strong women, she will be able to stand up against Albert.
Right,
you
right.
you feel like that, you kind of like root for them, and you want them to just like unite and just like get Celie up.
Right. As Sophia and Suge enter the picture, into the story, they show us different ways that Celie can break out of this. Because the movie is actually like an escape. It's like a drama thriller escape movie because you're rooting for Celie to get out of this bad situation that she's in, that she had no parts of. Right. She's a
Hmm.
victim, and you want to see her succeed. And we know Sophia is a is a woman that Mister is not ready for because when Sophia first meets Mister says to Celie, "Bring me some lemonade," and she brings him some, and then he says, "Not cold enough," right? But
Yeah.
then when Sophia is leaving, she takes Celie's cold lemonade and says, "Somebody knows how to treat a woman around here or treat guests around here," and
Yeah.
and she's standing at the end of the room in between. No, she's standing at the end of the room, and Harpo is in between, and he has to make a choice whether to stay with his father or marry Sophia, right? And Harpo actually proves himself to be like a real man and says, "I'm going to do what I want to do and marry this woman that I love and stand up against his father," which was
Yeah.
actually very powerful. And that, you know what, that goes against what Albert did, because I believe his father told him not to marry Shug, the town whore, right?
Mhm.
And he did that, and ever since then he's been broken. But Harpo did the opposite of what his father did. I might have
Yeah.
jumped ahead a bit, but I just wanted to say that. What did you think?
No, no, definitely. Like I was thinking about that as well, and that was probably like why he didn't want like his son to marry Sophia,
Mm,
because his father didn't want him to marry Shug, right?
hmm.
So yeah, like he was doing the exact same things that his father did to his son,
Right.
basically.
Absolutely. So anyway, Sophia and Harpo get married, and Sophia is not, becoming domesticated. She's not, being doing whatever Harpo says. Harpo says, "Cook me something," and she says, "Well, the kitchen's right there. Why don't you cook yourself something?" and stuff like that. And basically, Harpo's father is telling him, women are like children. You have to show them discipline. You have to show them who's the boss and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so when Harpo is having trouble with dealing with Sophia, Celie tells him to beat her. Now, I think that's one of the most powerful scenes. Not the actual beating,
Hmm.
which is never shown, but just Celie telling Harpo to do it. What did you think about that?
Yeah, that's like we sort of like before we realize it, we have that sort of thing as women, like internalized sexism, right? I guess, like you could say, or just like sort of justifying what men do in our heads, like oh, like he, this was like obviously it still happens, but it was more common back then, and yeah, like women used to say like. I deserved it because I didn't prepare his dinner on time. It was like 5 minutes late or something, or stuff like that. So we just like give ourselves excuses in our minds, and that was like Celie, I guess, not realizing, that the things that she has to endure were like not justified.
Right, right, absolutely. I do think it was that internalized self hate, and that's the
Hmm.
only. And I'm glad that that's the only time in the movie that we see, that sort of anti woman thinking
Hmm.
weaponized against another woman, right?
Yeah.
Because after that, after Harpo, after Harpo tries to beat on Sophia, Harpo also gets beat up too by Sophia, right?
Yeah.
And then Sophia approaches Celie and says, "You told you told Harpo to beat me." One of the most famous lines in Black America. I don't know how many times I've heard this line before, and we used to say this as comedy to each other, which is maybe why I was laughing at that scene and also different scenes, because so much of this is iconic to us.
Mm.
But yeah, Sophia makes a very powerful argument to Celie that all her life she had to fight. She had to fight her daddy. She had to fight her brother. She grew up in a toxic male environment, and she didn't want to fight in her own home. And what Celie did was create something that did not need to happen, because Harpo wasn't going to just start beating on her for no reason. He was actually like a chill dude, but
Yeah.
Celie sort of caused that chain reaction to happen. What do you think of that?
Yeah, definitely. Like maybe like Harpo knew his dad was like this crazy aggressive man, right?
Hmm.
So maybe like if Celie didn't said it to him, then he would have thought like, okay, like it will just go away. But maybe like Harpo thought that okay, if a woman is giving me the same advice,
A
like why
woman who
shouldn't
was
I do it?
beaten.
Yeah, why shouldn't I do it? I guess that's like how she became that way since Celie is such like a, I don't know, like a domesticated woman. And yeah, I don't know. That was definitely like a very interesting, very sort of like empowering scene, and also
Definitely.
sad.
Definitely. It was sad, but also funny because Harpo got beat really bad,
Yeah.
and he's trying to explain to his dad, "No, the donkey kicked me in my face. Don't you see? That's a hoof print under my eye." And then his dad says, "No, that looks like a fist."
Yeah.
So anyway, like Sophia and Harpo have like a bunch of kids. They keep on beating on each other, like, but they keep on having kids until eventually they break up, and Sophia leaves Harpo, and we see Harpo being defeated, a man left alone, with nobody there to take care of him and stuff like that. And that was like, I'm not going to spoil the end as we tell the story, but that was like a foreshadowing of like I think one of the movie's themes, that men are nothing without women, right?
Mm.
Because Harpo sort of lost it all. He couldn't build a house. He couldn't take care of himself and stuff like that. And when
Yeah.
Sophia left and took all the kids, he was like sort of a broken man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also like we know that they actually loved each other. Like their marriage wasn't like something arranged. And
Mhm.
even like even Sophia told Celie that like she loves Harpo, and she's like he's a good man, he's a kind man, but I will never take a beating, you know. So it was heartbreaking, yeah.
Very heartbreaking. So Sophia leaves, and then Shug comes, but we already talked about that.
Mhm.
So Shug is in the house now, and Harpo decides to open up a juke joint. Like a, he turns his house into like this, like a blues club, right? He's gonna play music, sell alcohol, have a
Mhm.
big old party at his juke joint, right? And Shug is gonna be singing there, and so Shug is singing at the house at the juke joint. Everybody's partying. Celie's there. Mister is there. All the people are there. But then Shug sings a song for Celie, right? Like a song
Mhm.
that will celebrate Celie and lets Celie know that she loves her and she's not going to just take Mister away from her and all that sort of stuff. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, that was like very like nice and sentimental because like Also, there were like some mean girls in the joint, and they were making fun of Celie, saying like, "Oh, like your husband has a mistress and you're just a maid." And like honestly, Celie didn't care because she didn't love Albert, but yeah, she was, I guess, like just like sad that people were making fun of her. And yeah, like it was like a friendship, you know. And I don't know, I guess like back then or even now, some stuff like this happens. The mistress and the wife become friends, and they take revenge against the husband and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, obviously, we also know kind of like Shug loves Albert as well. Like actually, like she's in love with Albert, but she thinks like it's kind of never gonna work.
Right.
And it's like a star. They're like star-crossed lovers or something.
Yeah, yeah. It
And
seems like there was a forbidden love for both of them, right?
yeah, and also like it was nice too because you know Albert was surprised as well, and you know maybe he was expecting a song for himself or he wanted like Shug to do something for him, but she was just connecting with Celie,
Yeah.
and you know that's why I don't know. It was just cute and it was like empowering.
Yeah. No, it was good to see that scene because I didn't know what to think of Shug during the first few scenes, right? When she came in, I thought she was going to be mean to Celie too because she did say, Celie, you're ugly the first time she met her. And,
Mhm.
she was just acting very ratchet in the house, cussing at Albert. So then, of course, maybe she's not going to respect Celie either. But maybe there was a hint that she would like Celie because she did eat her food that she cooked after Albert burnt the stuff. And yeah, I basically thought she might be a mean girl, but that scene really changed it.
Mhm.
And my number one thing was Shug. Like, if you're to remake this movie today, if you were gonna make this movie like modern, like Mister would be the guy who is stuck with his baby mama, who's not a looker, and then like the Instagram thought of his dreams comes into his house, and he's just
Wow,
that's how I was just thinking the entire time. Like,
that's funny.
this is a girl he double taps on like religiously, and now she's like in the crib. Anyway,
That's yeah, that's pretty accurate.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, guess who comes to the to the juke joint while Suge is singing a song to Celie? Oh, look at that! Sophia's back, and she's got some nigga from Memphis whose name is Mr. Broadneck, BDE personified. And so Harpo says, you can't be in here, and she says, I just came to hear the song and stuff like that. Sophia sits down with her new boo at the table with Mister and Celie, and she's having a drink and stuff like that. And Harpo asks to dance. And one of the interesting things that Mr. Broadneck says. Is like, I'm here to just support my woman. I can't tell her what to do and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And he lets Harpo, Sophia's ex-husband, dance with his girlfriend. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, I mean, it felt closer to today, you know, and yeah, like you know, it's not all just like uptight, you know, just aggressive men that time. Like even if you're like a you know BDE, and you're like very manly man and you're like a big man, you don't have to be like you know just overbearing that sort of like aggressive person. And I don't know, it also felt like he didn't really take Sophia that seriously as well,
Really?
but at the same time, like I mean, we didn't know like their relationship really. We just know
Hmm.
that they were like kind of hanging out there because
Right.
it also felt like Sophia was kind of went there to make Harpo jealous
Okay, I didn't
as
read that
well.
much into it. I was
Yeah,
just
I mean, I don't know, just like thinking about it, and yeah,
it,
I don't know, but it was nice and refreshing to hear a man say something modern.
Yeah, I mean, looking at how the story ended up, because we know how it ended.
Hmm.
Maybe she did show up with the guy just to make him jealous, because that's something that would happen, right? But yeah, I was just really analyzing that line because I think one of the criticisms people have of this movie is that all the men in here are toxic. But if you really analyze it, like there are two really, toxic characters, Mister and Pa, the father who,
Yeah.
of Celie and Nettie. But after that, the other men are somewhat complex. There could have been more written into them, and I really wish like broad back, broad neck, whatever had more input. But that was a really cool scene. I just want to say that. But yeah, so Sophia's dancing with Harpo. And basically, this little girl comes up who's a waitress there. I guess she had a relationship with Harpo. She comes up and says, "You can't be dancing with my man." And Sophia's like, "Well, I'll leave. I don't care about this dude." And then she basically slaps Sophia, which is the worst thing you could do, because this girl weighed as much as a lamp, and Sophia is like built like a linebacker. And boy, she slaps little Squeak. I think that's her name, the character.
Squeaky, yeah.
Yes, he
Squeak.
slaps Squeaky all the way into the toilet. My God. And then a whole fight breaks out. I thought that was one of the funniest scenes. And it was cool to see that within all this tragedy, once again, that there's some
Yeah.
humor, there's some comedy. Shout out to Spielberg. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, like it was definitely like one of those kind of funnier scenes. And then like also at the end, like in all of this craziness, you see like Celie just sitting in the middle of it. Obviously, like nobody's hurting her, but she's just like watching everything go around her, and she's like observing people, and she's also like sort of entertained by all the craziness,
Yeah,
and it makes the watcher entertained as well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then yeah, I guess like Shug just takes her by the hand and says like, "What are you doing here? Like, just come here. You're gonna like get hurt." And then she takes her to the house, but then like Celie is so entertained, she like takes one more look at the whole
Mm.
like fighting scene.
Yeah, I wonder a bit why she was so entertained by violence. But this thought just came into my mind. Maybe she was entertained to see the fights breaking out because she had never seen men fight other men. She had only experienced a man beating on her, and she was defenseless. So maybe she was entertained by all of that because, oh, this is what actual conflict looks like when it's even,
Mhm.
when it's matched. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like specifically violence that was entertaining her. It was sort of like this. I guess also like first of all, like Sophia was involved in it, and I think she found Sophia amusing a little bit, and she liked Sophia, and also like just the whole like I don't know, like maybe because she wasn't at least like in the prison there, you know, she was
Hmm.
out, she was
Hmm.
seeing like what other people are doing, what other people are fighting about, even though
Hmm.
they're fighting. She was just like, you know, like free there, and I think
Right.
that's why she liked it.
Maybe, possibly, possibly. So Suge and Celie go back to the house, and Suge makes Celie dress up in like fancy clothes, girly clothes, makes her feel pretty. And Celie at first is very shy, like she doesn't want to smile at all. And so Suge is telling her like, "You got to smile. You have a pretty smile. Why are you so shy to smile?" And she holds her hands by her waist, and forces her to like look in the mirror until she starts laughing and smiling, which was very cute.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was a cool scene. What did you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a that scenes like that kind of hits home because as a I mean, I'm sure guys do this too. I'm sure like everyone does that, but also as a woman like, when you look at the mirror, you don't always like yourself or you don't always like how you look. You have something that you don't like about your face, about your body, and that scene was just like, Shug kind of like giving us all of the ladies a lesson like, smile and also like look at yourself when you smile and realize how beautiful you are when you're happy and things like that. So yeah, like it was definitely like an inspiring scene for me at least.
Yeah, definitely as a man. I mean, you do have times where you want to affirm yourself, affirm your masculine beauty, and bask in that. And yeah, definitely, I can't say I fully relate because I never wore a dress. I never put on furs and a nice hat. And my favorite bra. No, I didn't do that. But you get what I'm saying? I think it's universal. So Suge and Celie sit down and they have like a real intimate talk and stuff like that. And Suge asks Celie, "Are you okay if I sleep with Mister?" And then Celie says, "You enjoy that?" And then Suge says, "Yeah, I quite enjoy it. He puts it down. He blows my back out. He rocks my world. He makes
Okay,
me
she
squirt."
didn't say all that, but sure.
She said, "He make me squirt." I said, "Girl, what is all this?"
Wow.
And so, yeah, and that was an interesting thing. Like, Celie was okay with Suge laying up with Mister because I guess it got Mister off her back. And Suge asked Celie why, and he says, Celie says, he doesn't beat me when you're around. And why doesn't he beat you when I'm around? And he says, he beats me because I'm not you, and stuff
Mm-mm.
like that, which was a very sad moment. But then they have a cute kiss. Suge kisses Celie to like show affection to her, and then they kiss on the cheek. Then there's a kiss on the lips, and I don't know do you think there are underlying like lesbian themes or tendencies in the movie? Do you think there's any like true romantic lesbian feelings for any of the characters?
Mm, I mean, I think like the thing is, I think at that point, Celie is not really looking for anything sexual. I think she is just like looking for someone to love her, obviously. And also, like saying this, I realize that's also like a theme in the movie, I guess, like because everyone in the movie is looking for someone that would love them. And I think there was also like a line that Shug said, like everyone wants to be loved or something like that. And Celie is longing for that love from her sister, and Shug kind of gives it to her. But I also like in the book because it's like a diary of Celie. Celie kind of describes Shug like how a man would describe a woman.
Hmm.
Like she talks about her legs, her breasts, and stuff like that. So I feel like in the book you do feel more of like that maybe like hidden homosexuality,
Hmm.
and like even Celie is not aware of it.
Hmm.
But I don't know like what happens in the book uh later on. But I guess like they like she never really cares for that too much because also like if you think about it, she is sexually abused all her life,
Hmm.
starting with her father and then her like forced husband. So it's very hard for a woman to like experience all that sexual trauma and then still be like thinking about like sex, I guess.
Right.
I'm
And
not saying like they shouldn't or it shouldn't, but it's just like especially during like a time like that, you're not even realizing that these things are happening to you.
right, but I
And
didn't mean just feelings for Suge sexually, as in romantically, as if she loved her, like she wanted to be with Suge, or do you think Celie or any of the other characters wanted to be with each other romantically? Like,
I think Celie like wanted to be with Shug a little bit. I do think that because also like I guess we'll talk about it later, but yeah, like when she saw that Shug was with someone else or when she was leaving, she was always like so sad. But I don't know if that was like purely like friendship love or like romantic love. I'm not sure.
yeah, I don't think there was any romantic feelings with any of the characters. I think Celie really clung to Suge because it was like her way out, and also she looked at Suge, like you said, like Nettie, like her protector, her sister, and
Mhm.
somebody that she could count on and lean on. And I don't think in the book, I've never read the book, but I think in the book maybe there might be some latent, like hidden homosexuality, like you said, some maybe some lesbian feelings in there. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in the movie they do a good job of showing that this is platonic love because of the arm on the shoulder. I think if they
Mm.
really wanted to take it there, they would have put the hand on the knee for both characters, or up the dress if they were
Yeah,
really going to
I
get
mean,
explicit.
we don't really know what happened, right? Because they showed like Neely putting her hand on Chuck's shoulder, and then they show us like the lamp or something, and then the scene ends there.
Right.
So we don't really know what happened. I don't think like it went further than that because it was so innocent. And so yeah, maybe like yeah, it is platonic.
I would say so, and I think that applies to all the characters. There is a lot of woman on woman love in this movie, but the love, in my opinion, doesn't come across as romantic. So moving on, after Celie and Suge have that intimate moment, I think the next thing is Suge leaves,
Yeah.
right? Suge leaves. She goes to like Memphis to sing, and Celie tries to run away with her. She tries to like gather all the money in the house and all that stuff like that, but she can't make it out because Mister catches her, right? And so Mister and Celie make her carry all their bags to the bus, and Suge goes off into the wind, and Celie faints to the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, what happens after that? Do you remember?
I think they skip to. Don't they skip to when like okay, maybe it's like the Sophia scene
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, so after that scene, basically Sophia is in town with her kids, and there's this white woman who approaches them and is like kissing her kids, things saying, "Oh, these are the cutest little colored Negroes I've ever seen." And then the white woman looks at their mother, who is Sophia, and says, "Do you want to be my maid?" And Sophia says, "Hell no." And then the white woman says, "What did you say to me?" And she says, "Hell no." And then the man comes and says, "What'd you say to my wife?" And Sophia says it again, "Hell," and then she gets smacked. And basically, everything moves in slow motion. The Matrix happens. The camera pans around full circle, and everybody's yelling, "Sophia, don't do it! No!" And Sophia gives that white man a good smack, straight fist to the jaw. Oh God, what did you think of that?
Yeah, that was like a such a ballsy move, you know? Not to be only like, I guess like during that time everyone was like, "No, don't do it." Like nobody had the balls to do something like that, and obviously Sophia had it, even though she was a woman.
Right, right. I think that scene was very important and also very good because up to this point in the movie, white people were kept at like a minimum in the
Hmm.
story, and I was really hoping that they were going to talk about white supremacy actually at that time because
Hmm.
we're looking at Mister, we're looking at Celie, we're looking at all of these characters, but I feel like the movie hadn't touched on okay, why are they living in this space? Why are they living in this way in this sort of all black community in the poor rural South? And we have to remember, oh, it's the system of white supremacy that they're living under. And when Sophia smacks the man, all the white people in town start crowding around her, calling all sorts of racial slurs and
Hmm.
disrespecting her and stuff like that. And then, this woman is crying for help from the police. And then what did the police do? They give her a good old smack to the face with the butt of a gun and throw her
Hmm.
in jail. And I thought that was,
It,
yeah, go ahead.
it was sort of like like after like you see sort of like I'll just continue on what you were saying. Like you see Sophia like going to jail. Basically, they take her, they handcuff her, and then they take her, and like she's like screaming, like take my kids home, like take them away. And like it's sort of like it's saying like maybe like as a black woman you can escape not being abused by your man, right? Like you can find what. Oh, thank you. As a black woman, you can't escape your abuser, who is like your husband, who is a black man, but you can't at this time. You cannot escape like whites or white supremacy. You know what I mean? I thought that was like, I thought that was the point of having that whole scene,
Right.
maybe.
I thought, yeah, definitely. Like, you can't escape white supremacy in this time, in that movie, right? In the space that they were creating. And also that sort of toxic patriarchy wasn't just only done by black men, because we see a white man give a woman a smack too. And we don't know if he does this to his wife, but we could also assume that because he felt very comfortable doing this in public. Now, of course, like, white people then had no reason to respect the rights of black people. But it goes to show that sort of, way of men treating women was not uncommon. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
of course, of course. It happened like in all cultures, in all countries. Like those times, it happened like that for every woman, and it wasn't different for like white Americans either.
Right, exactly. But I just really wanted to point on that because one thing people criticize this movie about is that it shows black men is so toxic and patriarchal and stuff like that. But it wasn't just them. So Sophia is in jail for like 8 years, which was a long time. The movie jumped a lot of space.
Yeah.
But Sophia is in jail for 8 years, and she ends up becoming the maid of the white woman who approached her at the end of everything, right? And so
Hmm.
she's teaching this white woman how to drive and everything. And I would assume that Sophia lost all of her wealth because I believe she was standing in front of her own car at that
Hmm.
scene when the white woman approached her the first time. But then at the end, she lost all of her wealth, and of course, her children were taken away from her. And so now she has to teach this white woman how to drive, and she's running through the city. She does not care about human life. Like black people have to jump out of the way as this white woman is swerving through the city. And they go to the store, and Celie passes Sophia a note and whispers something in her ear, something like that. and the white woman tells Sophia, "I'm going to drive you home today," and she drives Sophia home. And who is waiting for her? Celie and like all of the community and her children welcoming Sophia back home after doing a bid in prison, like Tupac.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene?
This was the second scene I cried. And yeah, I just like, when she came home, and I felt like, she said it herself. She like, everybody's hugging her and stuff, and she says like, I don't know like you anymore. And I just felt like, Oprah was so good in that scene. Like, all of her acting was really good, and all the actors were really good. But like, in that scene, I just felt like her being so sad and feeling so isolated because of something like this, even from her own community. And then like, she says something like that, but everyone like crowds up around her and hugs her. And I just felt like that love from just like, everyone from the community, and people understanding like this was not her fault,
Mm,
basically. Like,
yeah,
nobody blamed her. Nobody said like, oh, why did you like slap that white man? Nobody did that. And everybody just embraced her. And that was just so like, just pure community love.
right.
And yeah, that's why I teared up. But yeah.
Yeah, I think nobody asked her why did you slap that white man is because probably everybody in the community wanted to do that at least three
Yeah.
times a day. And
And they
so
knew why.
yeah, they knew why. And so Sophia came home like Tupac, like Nelson Mandela, like this is our hero. She's Martin Luther King. She's Malcolm X. You know what I mean? She done did it. She slapped a white man and survived.
Yeah.
And I think that scene with Sophia cementing her status as like a figure in the community that everybody rallies around. Number one, shows community, like you said, and it also shows as well that not all the black men in this movie were bad people or
Yeah.
toxic. And it's not painting black men as bad because there were a lot of black men at that gathering with her, and they were celebrating Sophia. They were showing love to Sophia. They were outside the house, like just hanging out, protecting her, all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it was
Even
very
Harpo
cool.
was there, I think.
Yeah, even
Her and
Harpo, like
Sophia.
her baby daddy who used to beat on her and stuff like that, he what came there and showed love. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I'm guessing like he was the one who was taking care of the kids when, she was not there, and also Celie like together.
Yeah. So Sophia came home like a hero who stood up to white supremacy, but before she can actually celebrate her victory, this white woman is in the front of the house and she is too dumb to know how to put a car in reverse. Now, I grew up driving stick shift, so I know how frustrating it could be, and I could imagine. But how the hell do you not know how to put the car in reverse? Like, no, that's what I was thinking. And it was so.
Yeah.
I heard you groan like, oh God, this
Yeah.
woman.
Like, it was so annoying. She acted like a dumb child. And yeah, she was like creating chaos. And then like, when she couldn't do it, the men were like out there because I guess they were trying to like let Sophia have her time with her family, so they were trying to help the white lady. But the
Mhm.
white lady went crazy, and she was like, don't touch me, I've been good to you, and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. She Sophia comes out, and then Sophia's like, what happened? And she says, oh, these black men are trying to like touch me and stuff like that. And Sophia says like, if you can't drive, somebody else could drive you, like one of these men can drive you. And she's like, I can't be alone in a car with a colored man or something like that. And then yeah, like she offers like another girl comes with them so that she's not alone with a man. And then the lady says like, I don't know her either, so Sophia has to drive and go back and leave her family.
Mm. Now, I thought that scene was like very important for like multiple reasons, right? The whole character of the white woman, because this is like I believe the end of us seeing her on screen. All right, so the white woman driving, a woman driving in like 1920s America was still very radical, from my recollection of like U.S. history, like from
Hmm.
what I've studied, right? So she's supposed to represent the white woman's supposed to represent liberated white feminism, like
Yeah, she
freedom.
was the wife of the sheriff, I think.
She was also, yeah, which goes to show that she's like symbolically at the right hand of power. Like she's not that far away from, the true movers of white supremacy at that time, right? So she's a liberated woman, a liberal white woman who is supposed to be here to help the Negroes and be there to, show love to the community and stuff like that. But she still exhibits racism, even though as a woman, she probably goes through the same stuff that, black women go through. Her husband probably smacks her. People probably tell her that she shouldn't drive. And that's probably why everybody at the store was like staring at her while she got in the car because we don't see any other women driving in this movie and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So I thought that was very important for her to be in the movie or for her character to exist because it shows like the when we have feminism without the lack of intersection, as in let's just liberate women, right? Well, first we have to fight against the forces of like white supremacy and anti-black racism and the specific needs of black women.
Yeah.
And if white women are more concerned with maintaining their power than actually fighting patriarchy, we're just going to be in the same boat, in the same struggle. If that makes sense, you get what I'm
Of
saying?
course, of course. And exactly like literally we see like the white woman dependent on a black woman, right? Because she
Hmm.
cannot drive by herself. She doesn't know how to drive. And just like that, like also we see like, all these like at that time, and even talking about white supremacy now, they are dependent on black people,
Hmm.
because they've been so dependent for many years, and to a level where one shouldn't be, and sort of like not in a good way dependent, obviously.
Right.
Like and yeah, like it shows that in that scene, like she despises her, I guess, inside, but then
Hmm.
she's also dependent on her to like literally go from one place to another.
Yeah, literally, like a lot of the feminist movements, at least in the U.S., were speared, like headed by black women, because nobody understands what it means to be an oppressed woman more than a black woman in
Yeah.
this white supremacist world that we live in. So to navigate, to drive through all the hurdles and obstacles that are in women's way, nobody can guide you better than an actual black woman. And I feel like that was the very cool, metaphor for Sophia teaching Miss White Woman how to drive.
Yeah, like you have this woman, that's the white woman views as like someone like who was violent and then went to jail and then got tamed or something, and then like she still teaches her how to drive, like
Yeah.
even like that person that she sees as something little, Sophia probably knows much more things than like Miss Karen here.
Yeah, Miss Karen. We'll call her Miss Karen. I was really hoping though that like Miss Karen like ran into a tree, or like while she was driving, like her car went off the road or something like that. That's what I
Yeah,
was hoping.
like she
But
tried to go home and killed herself.
yeah, that would have been like, wow. But it's Spielberg. It's Spielberg. But yeah. So after that scene, I believe what happens next is that Suge comes back.
Yeah.
Suge comes back to the house, and Mister is all excited. Celia is excited too. They have a funny scene where they're both trying to get dressed in their fancy clothes in the house. Then they run downstairs and see Suge is at the front of the house, which somehow got bigger because I think Mister got a new crib or something. And Suge is there with her new husband dressed in a fly yellow suit. I want a yellow suit and a yellow car, a big Cadillac. And
Okay.
yeah, Suge says, "This is my new man." And Mister like, "Huh?" And Celia like, "Huh?" And yeah, what did you think about Suge's return?
Yeah, like I was kind of sad because like in the previous scenes when she's talking to Celie, she says something like, if I would ever marry someone, it would have probably been like Albert.
Hmm.
But it's just not in the cards for us or something like that. Like she
Right,
said, like marriage is not for her or something.
right, right,
And
right.
then yeah, like I was, secretly, even though I hate Albert because he's a bad man in the movie,
Hmm.
I did wanted like them to somehow like be together in the end, I guess. But yeah, and I guess that was his karma as well.
Right, right. Yeah, I thought when Suge returned, it was a powerful thing because it showed that Suge had gotten over Albert and that she didn't fall into the trap, because Albert is still a man who is broken up about a woman he couldn't get, whether it was because of reasons that he made or outside world. He's still broken up about that. And I think that's why deep down she
Mm.
didn't choose Albert, because why are you still broken up over me? You have a whole new wife. You have a whole life that you control, and yet and
Yep.
still you still want me. So that's why I will never want you. So I thought it was good for Suge to do that. And
Yeah, she didn't settle.
she didn't settle, but Albert is still trying to settle, right? And since we're speaking about Suge, I think we actually have to go back in time a bit, back a few scenes, because one of the most important scenes is when Mister's father appears, and we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Mister's father shows up to the house and he's screaming for his son. And when Mister's father comes, he's like a short, little, light-skinned man in another fancy suit. And yeah, he's Mister is very intimidated by his own father. He like doesn't say anything. His father walks around him and he stands at attention like a soldier and stuff like that. And he sits down before his father does, and his father puts his big shoe right between his son's legs and looks him dead in the eyes and says, "Why you want to marry that whore Suge?" or something like that. What
Mm.
did you think when Mister's pop arrived?
Yeah, like I was definitely like, wait, I was confused at first because I was like, who is this man? And then I was also confused, like, how is he his father and stuff
Right.
like that. And then yeah, like when he was talking about like Suge, he was like, oh, like she's skinny, like she's a what's the black as a tar?
Black is tar, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like and stuff like that, like he said, and yeah, I don't know, like he just looked like a guy who's obviously also broken, but like very arrogant and like
Hmm.
still is not satisfied with anything in his life. Even though if you consider like Albert has a whole wife, a whole big house with a whole like farm, I guess,
Hmm.
and like he still like despises his son.
Hmm. Right. I thought that was interesting. And as a black person, I read between the lines of that, because when I look at Mister's father looks mixed, or he looks Creole.
Yeah,
He looks like he's at least 1/8 white or something like that, right? Because he's
yeah,
got like more fine hair, lighter skin, and stuff like that. And so when he's saying this anti-black stuff to his son, you get what I'm saying? That's like passing down once again like colorism and anti-blackness within us. And so he's saying this about Suge. And I'm like, your son is black as hell too. So that means her mother, your baby's mother, who birthed your little son, Mister, could have been black too. You get what I'm saying? So I was
yeah,
wondering what happened in this family, because it seems like the men in this family always end up choosing or mating with women that they really don't like, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, and exactly. That's why like as we were watching the movie, I was like, how is this man his father? I said that out loud because like it didn't make sense what he was saying and how he looked and how his son looked.
Right. But I have to say that, amongst older black people, like calling somebody black is like a real insult. And so, like, in the movie, they're really going back in time. Like, people are speaking that old Southern black dialect, like I's free or I's a woman and stuff like that. And,
Hmm.
calling somebody black back then was like, hey, nigga, who you calling black? You blackity black, son of a bitch. So I think that was a part of it. And then also, as well, I don't really get hung up. I don't want to make it sound like I'm hung up on his father's color, because sometimes Hollywood will cast somebody just because, or
Yeah.
just because they're the best actor. So I'm not really hung up on that. Maybe
I
in the
just
book, yeah,
I just want to say that his real name is Adolf Caesar.
that's the actor's name.
Yes.
Okay, so that man has a very interesting story. He's
Yeah.
Dominican, Puerto Rican, German.
I just thought his name was like interesting.
That's a very funny story. But yeah, I'm not really hung up on the actor himself, because maybe in the book it was meant to be another dark skinned black man and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But whatever, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But definitely when Mister's father appears, it hints at the idea that Mister got beaten too a lot, and his father was very totalitarian with him and heavy
Yeah.
fisted, because Mister is scared, and this is the first time we've seen Mister shaken and scared, and Mister's father totally dominates the scene and the environment.
Yeah.
Do you think it's very possible that Mister was beaten bad by his father and saw the
Yeah.
same thing happen to his mother?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So, damn. Okay. Shug returns with her husband, and Mister and Mister and her husband actually get along. They get really drunk and start smashing eggs on each other's faces.
It's
Uh,
Easter. They're painting Easter eggs, and then they're so drunk that they start smashing it.
yeah, on each other's heads, and then they go out into the field. No, they go out to the hooch house. They go out to Harpo's, bar,
Yeah.
and uh, Shug goes to the mailbox and pulls out letters, and she discovers a letter from Nettie. Nettie had been sending letters to Celie the entire time over the years, but they didn't come. So she only sends letters now on Christmas and Easter, hoping that they get lost in the shuffle. Right?
Mhm.
It comes from Africa, which was wild, and I thought that was one of the most like jaw-dropping parts of the movie, like that the movie was now going to go international, intercontinental. What did you
Yeah.
think of the letter scene?
Yeah. Like, you know, before they start actually showing Nettie, like
Hmm.
going back in time and showing Nettie, I was like, did I read that right? Like, is she in Africa? Like before they said it, I was like confused, and I'm like, okay, like I thought like, okay, maybe like, okay, she went to the motherland and she's like just chilling there and happy and like, just all black community and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought maybe she was. I thought maybe there was like a place in Georgia called Africa. Like if that's
Wow.
how bad segregation was. Like they named a whole little city. This is Little Africa. I don't know, but yeah. So it come. We come to find that Nettie joined up with this missionary group, this Christian missionary group, and they went to Africa. And now she's in Africa, like building churches, preaching to the locals. And she also has Celie's two children, Olivia and Adam. We didn't mention this before, but Celie had been going around town. She thought a baby was hers and stuff like that, and it actually was hers.
Hmm.
But the family, was a missionary group, and she
Yeah.
didn't know that. And they actually were the family that took Nettie in, and they went to Africa. And Nettie is telling the stories about what happened to her. And Celie and Shug go through the house, and they find Mister's stash of letters. But before they find the stash, they find mad pictures, pornographic pictures of white women. What
What
did you
did you
think?
think about that?
Okay, that's a lot right there. Because Shug said something like, "Look at these pictures. Don't look nothing like me at all." I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
it real. This is Simon Hill keeps it trail. I always keep it trail. I thought that was funny, and I thought that's very real, because possibly, Mister probably just lusted over what he can't have. Right at
Hmm.
that time, relations between black men and white women were strictly forbidden. So just having those pictures of naked white women, he probably beat his meat to it a few times, was probably just like a taboo for him, like something I could never have. So let me just you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is also another scene where Mister does a little bit of like shucking and jiving for the white man, because when the mailman comes, he says, "Hey, Mr. Mailman, I brought you some fresh cookies. You can even keep the plate. Send me a letter from Shug now." There's like, so Mister does have a little bit of like that. I can't say the c word, but he has some marsupial in him. He has
Mm.
some. He has a little bit of marsupial in him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What did you
Uh,
think of it?
yeah. I mean, obviously, like that sort of, I guess I'm gonna say like white supremacist propaganda
Hmm.
uh, is like there, and it's there at that time too, and it's stronger at that. It's stronger during those times because it's like, oh, white women are like the purity or something like that, and what you say is also true. Like you want what you can't have.
Hmm.
Also, there's that temptation from that, and yeah, like that's the, I don't know, like the reality of that sort of toxic thought
Hmm.
that's spread around.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, a little bit of that, just
And also like,
propaganda. That, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
us talking about like how his father describes like the woman that he's in love with, like Shug and stuff
Right.
like that. So maybe that's also like a bit in the family, like, as well.
Right, right, right. Yeah, a little bit of that brainwashing, of course, that self hate makes you
Yeah.
want, stuff like that. But I also think it was a bit of the taboo too. But that was just a funny little scene. Either way, Suge and Celie find more letters from Nettie while Mister and Suge's husband are out at the hooch house getting down. And Celie starts reading these letters all the time, and she's hearing the stories of what happened to Olivia and Adam and her sister while in Africa. Apparently, they even go into colonialism in Africa, which I thought was brilliant. And I'm so glad that they put that in there, or that was in the book, or either way, I was very happy that Nettie is describing, colonialism colonialism there, where the whites are coming in, knocking down the villages, building railroads, tearing families apart and stuff like that. It
Mm.
was very, very, very powerful. I really like that because once again, a lot of people criticize this movie for just painting black men in a bad light, but the movie also hints to the global system of white supremacy that has all of these characters acting a certain way and
Yeah.
events happening around them. I thought that was brilliant. What did you think of, the Nettie scene when she's describing Africa?
Yeah, it was like first it starts off really good, and I thought like obviously like they were showing what Nettie was living, but I also felt like it was Ceely's imagination as well, like how they show like giraffes and elephants and stuff like that, and like she was imagining, or like Nettie like just running in the field in Africa, and like she was also like imagining this sort of like magical land in her mind, and yeah, and when like the whole stuff happened and the colonial powers came and they were building railroads and stuff like that, yeah, it was like a sort of like a reality check,
Hmm.
and it was cool, like you said, that they put that here in like this movie as well.
Right, right. But I also like that what they did is like, the story could have easily gone, oh, Nettie went to New York and got a job at some rich white man's house cleaning the floors. And now she can, do something like, I'm glad the movie didn't go to them just staying in America and dealing with
Hmm.
their problems. They painted Africa in this movie as a place of like glory and hope and like return. And that was actually very, very, very good. I just really
Yeah.
liked that addition of that. And I liked that they showed scenes of like Olivia and Adam like growing up there and like becoming kids and learning new things. That was actually really cool. I really like that.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And so yeah, moving on from that, Nettie is like reading these letters. No, Celia is reading these letters all the time. But then one day, like Mister, like gives her a good old smack. She's smacked back to earth. She's smacked back to reality after thinking about all these giraffes and elephants in Africa. And Mister says, "Come give me a shave." And so, oh, Celia is not having it no more. She's about to shave Mister and give him the last shave of his life. But the only thing that saves Mister's life is Shug grabbing the knife out of Celia's hand and says, "Celia, I think that razor's a bit dull." And Mister's so dumb he doesn't know he's about to get killed. He just says, "Damn women," and walks away. What did you think of that?
Yeah, like I said, that was like one of my favorite scenes, because at the same time like they were building up to like Celie thinking about like killing Albert, they were also like showing the scene where like this African people and also like Nettie and the parents and the kids, they were like basically thrown away from the village by the colonial powers, and they lost somebody that they loved, and they were, I guess, sort of doing like this ritual, some sort of thing in the village, and they had like the boy Adam, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then and then also the sister as well, Olivia, there. And I guess that was the ritual. Oh, okay, now I realize it, that it was like the ritual of accepting them to the tribe.
Mm, yeah.
And like now they like, you are one of us, because they lost their mother, or
Hmm.
like at least their not biological mother, but yeah.
Adopted mother.
Yeah. And while they were like getting accepted to the tribe, and then we see like on one side Celie is like trying to kill Albert, and they were building up to that, like changing scenes and stuff like that, and I was like really tense at that moment, so I really liked that scene.
Yeah, they did a good job because like I didn't know if Celie was going to do it. It really
Yeah.
felt like she might do it and then try to run away. I thought that's what the movie might be. I
Yeah.
really had no knowledge of the ending, so I was just ready for wherever the ride was going to take me.
Yeah.
Very cool scene. After that, there's the dinner scene. So basically, Suge's husband, Suge, Mister, Sophia, Mister's father, Celie, and I forgot who else was there. Oh, Harpo and his new wife are all sitting at the kitchen table having dinner. And Suge tells Mister, "Hey, we're leaving. My husband and I have to leave. It's been a great time meeting you, but we're taking Celie with us." And Mister's like, "You damn hell, you sure as fuck ain't." Like, hell no, you're not leaving with my wife. And yeah, Celie starts going off. Celie starts letting that boy have it. That was powerful. Celie starts telling Mister like, "You're sorry, and you're like dead horse shit, and I'm sick of getting beat on by you. I don't want nothing from you. I don't want no money." And Mister starts going off and says, "You black, you black. See, I told you, all black people just love that. You black, you ugly, you poor. What you gonna do? Clean some floors, work in a kitchen, stuff like that."
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, also like just going back to what you said about Nettie's adventure in Africa, or like
Hmm.
Nettie going back to Africa, it was like there Celie says on the table, like, I read about my sister, like she was very proud of her sister, and she was like, she's in Africa, like how today people would say like, oh, she's in Switzerland or
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
And she
Hmm.
was kind of like very proud, and I really like that, because
Hmm.
it felt like there was also that sort of longing or and dreaming about, like, from her perspective, about Africa, about
Hmm.
homeland and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was also like pretty cool. And then yeah, like it was just, this is one of the things that I also look for when a character is always like silent. I
Hmm.
need that blow up moment
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
feel satisfied,
Hmm.
and we got that from Celie, and it was just like really satisfying. Like
Really?
she was saying like everything, like she was going at for to what was the son's name, Harpo.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was going at it like Harpo. She was saying like, oh, if you didn't like try to tame Sophia, she wouldn't have end up going to jail, and then she wouldn't be like that and stuff. So it was
Hmm.
perfect.
Absolutely perfect. I feel like Whoopi really transformed at that stage. Like she took her acting up.
Yeah.
It was one of her best, moments in the film. And that's when we see Celie like break finally out of the cage. Before she physically breaks out of the cage, she spiritually, emotionally, internally breaks out of it. And yeah, everybody at the table is shook. And Sophia's like, okay, it's been a long time since it got live up in here. And the father says to Sophia, looks like the dead has arisen. Because up to that point, Sophia was like defeated too. She was broken and down, but then she's laughing. She's like, all right, we're going to get to it now. And it all comes to a head when Mister says something that triggers Celie. I think it was about the letters. I think Celie asked, "Do you have any more letters than Nettie?" And he was like, maybe I do, maybe I don't." And so then Celie like takes the knife and puts it to his throat, and Suge and Sophia all have to tell him, "Don't do it. He ain't worth it. He ain't worth it." And yeah, man, then that was really powerful. I think also Harpo's wife says, "I want to leave too," and it's Squeaky, and she says, "My
Yeah.
name ain't Squeaky. It's like Anna Marie or something like that." And she
Hmm.
says, "I'm gonna leave with Celie and Suge and all of them. I'm gonna go too." And so yeah, and then they all leave the house. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no, it was definitely like a great scene. And also like there we also see like more of Albert's dad as well, because he keeps on saying stuff like, how are you gonna like let these women talk to you like that? How are you gonna let your wife talk to you like that? If you let her talk to you like that, then you're just like a puppy or something, like you're just a weak man.
Hmm.
And he's like also constantly like shaming Albert and like pressuring him to be sort of like aggressive.
Yeah.
Because honestly, at that point, like obviously Albert doesn't want Celie to go because he needs her around the house. But it's not like he's madly in love with her.
Hmm.
Like, it's not like he's gonna be broken, like heartbroken if she leaves.
Hmm.
He just like needs her.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, like maybe like if his father wasn't there, he wouldn't obviously like he would still like say she can't go,
Hmm.
but he wouldn't be like that assertive. I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. He definitely needed Celie because later on he becomes a broken man too. And he really doesn't recover from it. He threatens Celie, with one backhand, but Celie raises her two fingers like a witch and freezes that man, put a spell on him, and he was cold. And she said, everything you did to me, you did to yourself already. And as the car is driving away with Celie in the back, Squeaky in the front, Suge and her husband driving the car, Celie says, I might be black, I might be poor, but I'm here. I'm here. I was like, yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, let's go.
and
That
like
was insane.
yeah, she also says like you're not gonna like be at peace until you make it up to me.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
So
I forgot
like
that part.
she
Yeah,
she also she's such a good person. She even gives him like a last chance.
yeah,
She's like, until you make it up to me, until you pay me all the things you did, not like in money obviously, but you're gonna be miserable.
right. Very true. She put that curse on him.
Yeah,
There was a little bit of witchcraft in there. A little bit
yeah.
of
All the witches gather around.
Yeah. So something that we didn't mention throughout this story, but it's sort of like a side quest if we think about the story of Color Purple. Suge's father is actually the town preacher, and Suge's father doesn't want anything to do with her, even though she comes up to him and says, "I'm married now," or I remember being a good girl in church and stuff like that. But the pastor doesn't want anything really to do with her, anything like that. And yeah, that was very interesting. I thought that was a very interesting. Side story to have in there because
Yeah,
religion of course is like patriarchy incarnate. A lot of Abrahamic religions have women at the bottom, and there's a very special place in hell for the whore in all the religions, right? And so to have this holy figure, the man representing God, and the woman who is cast out, I thought for them to have that conflict throughout the story was also highlighting another part of feminism and the fight against patriarchy and stuff like
mhm.
that. What did you think about Shug and her relationship with her pastor father?
I thought it was a very interesting side story because I remember Celie says like when she first meets Shug, she says that like Shug is usually like happy, she's beautiful, she has all the men like and stuff like that, but then she sometimes gets sad, just like me. And then
Hmm.
they show us that scene where Shug like enters the church and then just like gives this sort of sad speech to his father, and his father doesn't mind her, and then she
Hmm.
leaves. So it's like we see that like this independent woman who like who has a man like Albert act like a sad puppy around her,
Hmm.
and then she has like all this opportunities that she can have. She has money, she has men, right, everything, but she's also like she got daddy issues. Like she's looking for love from a particular man, which is her dad. And it's like no matter sometimes, no matter like how powerful you are and stuff like that, you still need like that sort of, I guess, like family love or acceptance from your family and things like that.
Right.
So like that was also, I don't know, I think that was what I got from that like side story.
Right. I think what they were trying to show in that movie, because I think what they were trying to show with Shug and her father is that the bonds that are broken between a father and his daughter can be mended. They can be
Mhm.
fixed because Celie and Nettie were abused by their father, right?
Yeah.
And that bond was never fixed because right next in the movie happens is that Celie and Nettie's father dies supposedly, but we come to find out from Nettie's letters that who was their father was actually their stepfather. Their mother married another man after their father was lynched by a white mob, which once again hints at the white supremacy at play
Hmm.
in all of this, because this whole movie would have never happened had anti-black racism not happened to Celie and Nettie's father. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
So basically, there's another woman that Celia and Nettie's father married, another very young woman, very young, and she says that father died while on top of her, like having sex with her. Gross. And he leaves her all the money that he had, but the property and the store all go to Celie because her real father left it to them and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
was very very fulfilling and satisfying to see. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And yeah, basically, Celie opens up a pants store, which is, I guess, successful.
Yeah.
She's like the inventor of the elastic band. Like she invents Spanx. She invents Spanx.
Wow. Okay. This is the story of a woman who invented Spanx.
Yeah. So the whole movie is basically like, so this is how Spanx was invented, right? Like corduroy.
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, it's basically like, for the whole movie, we see like life taking away from Celie, right? All these
mhm,
bad things happening to her. And then after that point where she walks out, we see like kind of good things coming back to her, right? Just like out of nowhere, now she has a house. She didn't even know like she owned that property
mhm,
and stuff like that. And she has a business and,
yeah.
she has friends. Like Suge is there with her.
Mhm. Yeah, she has Shug, she has Sophia, she has a community around her and stuff like that. And meanwhile, as she gets all of these gifts and rewards after going through so much, the scene next turns to Mister. And Mister is a broken man. He's got animals all over the crib. The kitchen is a mess again. His farm is becoming dilapidated. He's old. His back is bent over. There's bullet holes in his mailbox, which I think like every night, like Celie just did a drive by on that man's house. Because every
No,
time,
it
every time
wasn't
she comes to
Celie.
the mailbox, there's like another bullet hole in that thing. Jesus Christ. But what did you think? What did you think of like Mister's downfall?
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was gonna happen. We knew, like, he can't cook, he can't clean, he can't do anything, and like he's just sad, and all of his kids are grown and left him. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's just like this depressed, like drunk man who's just like getting drunk all the time and waiting to die.
Hmm. Yeah. It was sad to see that.
He's living the curse.
He's living the curse that Celie put on him. Mister's father comes to the house and says, "You need another woman," and he pushes his father out of the house. And I think that was finally him standing up to his father to some degree.
Yeah,
But it was a bit too late. It was too late to actually get rid of this curse now.
yeah.
Because what Mister should have done was learn how to be a full man, and he never learned how to be a full man. He just learned how to be a tyrant like his father did. And
Hmm.
yeah, basically, the movie ends with Celie and Nettie being reunited. Celie gets to meet her
Yeah, but
kids. Go
Albert
ahead.
does that also. Like, I think that's important as well because
Uh, Go ahead.
Albert gets like this mail from like U.S. immigration,
Hmm.
and then like he goes to his hen where he has his hidden money, and then he takes his money, and then he, I guess, like pays for the immigration stuff. He goes to the bank,
Ah.
and because he's now after kicking his father out, he's like, okay, I have to like lift this curse. I have to
Mm.
do something nice for Celie to be able to like not be this miserable.
Wow, I didn't
So
even think about that. I thought he hid the letter in the chicken box.
no, no, he pays for like Nettie's return, and then
Wow.
yeah, like and they come.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, all right. That's even better. That's even better. I like that. So there is some redemption for Mister because he does
Yeah.
do one last good thing. Celie and Nettie reunite. Sophia and Harpo, by the way, reconcile, and now they're sort of like back together, I guess. And yeah, Celia gets to meet her kids who are fine and healthy because they weren't born from incest. Actually, she was her father, the father of her kids, was actually just some other man, not her actual father. They don't speak any English, so the kids come up and say "Mama," and then they start speaking like an African language to them. Her son got married, so there's a wife for them. And yeah, that just sets it up for a fire sequel. Jesus Christ! Imagine the color, the color purple and red.
Wow.
Now the sequel. Imagine like Africans moving to racist Memphis, Tennessee, in like 1930s with like this band of women who done survived it all, and they don't speak any English. That's a fire sitcom, bro.
Wow.
Fire.
That is actually a good idea. Copyrighted just now.
Exactly. Stamp that. And so ending was actually very good. There was like some triumph. Mister is in the background on the horse. He looks at them and sort of goes about his business.
And then I don't know if you realize it, but Suge looks at Mr. Albert,
Hmm.
and I think she kind of like guesses that he had something to do with it because she
Hmm.
smiles at him.
Hmm.
And again, like you see, sort of like this, like Suge actually does love Albert or
Hmm.
something like that. But yeah,
Wow. Wow. I didn't even catch that either. Interesting. Interesting. So that sets it up for a whole drama. This could be a soap opera. Will Shug leave her new husband for the man she always wanted? I don't know. Uh, but yeah. All right. So my overall score for this movie is very, very complex because I think the biggest flaw of this movie is not fleshing out Mister enough. All right, because hear me out. I think there could have been a better explanation for Mister's savagery towards Celie, other than maybe his father was brutal to him. I think it would have been better to draw a parallel to how Mr. treats his woman to like the system of like white supremacy and slavery, where brutality was inflicted on all people, like all black people, men
Mm.
and women. And so that was a learned habit, because this is like a theory that people have. Like, we don't naturally whip our kids with belts. We whip our kids with belts because it reminds us of slave master's whip. And that's the only discipline we know. Sort of like how Celie told Harpo to beat Sophia, right? We are just
Mhm.
repeating the sort of savagery that was taught to us. You
Of
get what I'm
course.
saying?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I wish there was just like some depth into Mister on why he is so evil, other than just saying, "Oh, patriarchy. Oh, the time. Oh, that was the men." Then you get, and that's all.
yeah, I mean, obviously, like, if you like actually take a second to think about it, it goes back to white supremacy, and I don't know, like, I guess anyone with the right mind can see that, but like, can see that, you know, his father didn't just act like that because he was a man. Probably he learned it from, or he experienced the same things, and he experienced the same things, and their ancestors experienced the same things, and it all goes back to like the slavery times or the white supremacy and things like that. It's
Right.
not like it doesn't. It's not something that comes naturally to men just to be like bad people,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
So yeah, I see, but I see your point.
Right. Another thing I want to say about this movie is that, I feel like the movie, if I'm just going to be real, the lesson I got from this movie is a cautionary tale that men need to be, understanding, not controlling, not dominating over the women in their lives, right? Because what that causes is just negative effects, not only for you, but for the people that you love and care about, right? Like Harpo went through a lot of pain in his life, losing the woman that he actually loves because he followed the bad advice of his father when
Hmm.
he was actually on the right track. And that ends up with Mister being in a situation where he loses everybody that he loves. He loves Suge but doesn't have her. He needs Celie but doesn't have her. Harpo is sort of just like tolerating his drunken father now. And so within Mister, there's so much to be gained from, to learn from, and I believe they turned up his character to the extreme in the violence and the brutality because they wanted to show the worst of what men can be, and that there
Hmm.
actually are men like that, right? We don't even have to say he's just the extreme. Like, there's a lot of men, unfortunately, like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can analyze the movie that way, and that's how I look at it from like my male perspective. And another thing I want to say is that this movie really makes you sympathize with the plight that Black women go through in this world,
Hmm.
because all throughout the movie there's like no mercy on the pain that Black women go through. We see them go through the pain of childbirth, the pain of brutality at the hands of men, the pain of being expected to just deal with suffering and nobody's there to help them, like when Celie falls to the ground and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the pain of being cast out from the houses of God, from being called whores when you're like a singer like Suge and all you want to do is sing, to being Sophia when you stand up for your children and your rights and your dignity, and what do you get? A gun to the face from the police. Like, there's no way to look at this movie and not say you have real sympathy and for the pain that Black women go through constantly. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people really dislike this movie because they show so much of that pain. But I really believe it's important for us to deal with that pain, no matter how hard it might be to look at it, even if we see ourselves in it. Because a lot of men might look at this and say, "Oh, I'm not like Mister. Mister is a bad character. Mister is, not me or my father or my brother." But there are men like Mister like that, and there's something you can still gain from that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, and also like, even if like, yeah, you might not be a bad person, and you might not be abusive, you might not be aggressive, you might respect women and things like that. But then also, I think this movie reminds you that there are women who are hurt like that, and even though you might not be the abuser, this movie helps you understand what that woman might be feeling and going through and went through, basically, like, or like how you can help them and be for them, I guess, in a way. Like, you might not be the abuser, but you can still understand that sort of pain when you watch this movie, I guess. And yeah, like there are just like so many good themes and lessons. I don't want to like just pick one, but I guess like if I have to, I guess like the okay, like the biggest like one that's coming to my head, like a lesson, I guess, is like throughout the movie, Celie is a good person. Like she helps all the people that she loves,
Except
and she
when she
protects.
told Harpo to beat.
Yeah, but she accepts everyone that she loves and she protects them. Like she spits on people's water to, protect Shug, even though she doesn't know about it, just because like Albert's father said something bad about her. And she protects them. She, respects them. She learns her lessons, but she's still kind and she's good to people and she's, doesn't lose his hope. And she gets all the rewards at the end. And she learns to like stand up for herself. She learns the value of like that sort of sisterhood, black empowerment, black woman empowerment, and things like that. So that's what I got from the movie. Just like I don't know, I guess like the importance of loved ones and hope, and also like learning as well.
Mhm. Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned in an English class that I taught a few days ago that people only remember what they heard at the beginning and the end of a presentation. So as we wrap up this presentation, I just want to say this. If you're only listening to the end, this is the real point. If you are a Black man that does not like this movie or appreciate this movie, you have to take a hard look in the mirror, because if you only watch this movie and only come out of it thinking that black men are depicted as evil or bad in this movie, you missed a whole lot of it. You missed a whole lot of it. There's more good black men in this movie than there are actually bad black men. The preacher reconciles with his daughter. Mister, even at the end, does something good for Celie and Nettie. Harpo learns from his mistakes, changes his ways, and gets the woman that he always wanted. I forgot even Lawrence Fishburne's character. You know, he's the jazz man there, and he doesn't do anything bad at all. You can't even say that he was a bad character. He was just a
Yeah.
musician in the background who was helping out his homie. Lawrence Fishburne's character helped out his homie Harpo. You know, build up after his divorce, get himself straight, and open a juke joint. Like there's
Yeah.
and the adopted father of Celie's kids is a good man. He goes to Africa, tries to help the African kids and
Mhm.
stuff like that. There are more good black men in this movie, or black men who are redeemed, than there are evil black men, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't like this movie because it might show black men in a negative
Also,
light, go ahead.
just
Well,
one more nice man in this movie is Shug's new husband,
mm,
because I think he's a very respectable man, and he respects Shug so much that like even when Shug wants to take Celie with her, and like he doesn't say anything, he stands by her, and I think he supports her all the way.
right, and that could have led to a fight, honestly, because like if another man and his wife came in here and said we're taking AKDI, I'm like, I'm fighting you, dude. You can't just up and leave with my wife. Like he put himself really in harm's way when he did that too.
Yeah.
So even if you don't think that, but you think that this movie, because this is how crazy the internet is, or some people in the comment section, they say this movie promotes like the strong black woman archetype that is more detrimental to our community than it is actually positive. There's only okay, these women had to be strong in this movie. They had to be independent because they were breaking out of a system that was like keeping them literally like, slaves, right? Like Celie was almost a slave to Mister. So she
Mhm.
had to fight for her freedom. But this is just, an extreme example told in this story to show us that we need to care for our sisters, care for our mothers, care for our daughters, our aunts, our cousins, and all of that. So, there's a lot of positives to see in this movie. I guess maybe the only argument you can make is that, a white man shouldn't have made this movie. Because, like, Steven Spielberg, might be maybe black stories should be told from the perspectives of black creators to flesh them out fully, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I think maybe there's some merit in that. But other than that, I find a lot of merit in this movie, honestly, from a lot of
Mhm.
different reasons. And that's really all I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, even though like it wasn't made by a black director, it was written by a black person, a black woman, and I think that also says something as well. And yeah, like about like men, black men. I don't know if it's my place to say this, but I'll just say it. Like yeah, like you said, if you're offended by this movie, or if you think like black men are represented wrongfully and like the villains, if you're not the villain, then you don't have to be upset about anything. And this movie is not about black men. This movie is about black women. So just give them the credit, and just try to understand this movie from a black woman's perspective
Yeah.
and not a black male's perspective.
Right, absolutely, and yeah. So other things that we could talk about because we ran through this whole long movie. The movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes, so that's why this is like the longest episode because there's so much to talk about in this, and we can honestly talk all day about it because there's
Yeah.
a lot more in it. But just to comment about the other things, acting, I give the acting, generally a 9 out of 10, except for the scene with Nettie talking about I'll only leave you when I die. That was other than that, Danny Glover did amazing, Oprah did amazing, Whoopi Goldberg
Whoopi.
did amazing. Yeah, what
Yeah.
do you think about the acting?
I mean, acting was overall like really good, just like you said. I'm just gonna give it a 9.5, 9.7 or something. So
Mm,
because it was just like that one scene with one actor, because Nettie was like also good overall as well,
mm.
and Whoopi was just like gold. She was like she really embodied the character, and she was like so like I don't know, she was great, and like even with her, throughout the movie we start off seeing like her character like this swollen up a girl with like old large clothes that doesn't fit her body, and she's always dirty, and she lets children rub like mud on her face and stuff like that. And as the story moves on, we see like her posture change, we see her clothes change, and just like her whole vibe change, her hair changes and stuff like that.
When we talk
So
about the changes of the character, especially Celie, the color purple, the actual color, was always symbolized with royalty, and only
mhm,
kings and queens could wear that. And when she actually does transition to like the independent Celie, when she
yeah.
leaves Mister, all we see her wear is purple, which goes to show she is now, a queen, which is
Yeah.
very, very, very good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like in the ending scene where she meets her sister, they are both wearing purple. Like also her sister has like a purple cape or like something like a shawl or something.
Yeah,
And also Celie is like wearing a purple dress, and yeah, like as she's finally like, just recognizing and embracing this woman that she is, like you can see that transformation in Whoopi, and it was just so good. And Oprah was also excellent. Chef's kiss.
yeah. All
Yeah.
right, cinematography and music.
Yeah, I mean, music was good. Sometimes it was sort of like what is that, like Heidi-ish,
What
or
do you
like
mean?
no, you don't know Heidi. Do you know Heidi?
No.
Sound of Music ish.
Oh, okay,
Let's
yeah,
put it like that.
yeah.
It
I
was
mean, it was like general, string orchestra, symphonic
yeah,
background.
but but also like there were songs that we related with, like the ones Shug sang, or like the song with the church choir singing and Chuck singing as well. Like those
Yeah.
moments were really nice, I think.
Hmm.
So for music, generally, I'll give it like a 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I give it a 9. I feel like it was a good soundtrack overall.
Mm,
Wish to hear more gospel songs. Gospel song was definitely like the best scene.
yeah,
And yeah, overall score. Overall, I gotta give it. I'm gonna give it. I'm giving it a 9. Giving it a 9.
yeah. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Well, this was another episode of Simon and AKDI on X movie reviews. Thank you for watching this video. Really looking forward to the comments. I know somebody's going to attack me because I like the color purple, but I don't care. I don't care. I like the color purple. That doesn't take away from me as a black man, and I'll fight anybody over it.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess I'll read one funny comment,
Go ahead.
which is from Letterbox, and this one guy said, with all caps, Danny Glover text, turn your location on. I just want to talk. All caps.
Okay, that's funny. That's funny. And with that, we're out. Peace.